and welcome to our video on how to play Nabstones. Nabstones is a competitive gem collection card game suitable for 2 to 4 players. It plays like a game of Uno crossed with a mobile match 3, think Candy Crush or Bejeweled. The objective of the game is to collect as many points as you can. This is done by making matching sets of gems across the course of the game. Each gem in the game is worth a different amount of points. You can use your scoring card to see how much each gem is worth.
There are 6 different types of gems in the game: rubies, jades, sapphires, citrines, amethysts, and opals. Each card has a different amount of gems. We count the value of the card based on the amount of gems on the card, multiplied by the value of each gem. Each of the cards, aside from opals, can have 1 to 5 gems on the card. Opals will only ever have 1.
Let's look at how we can calculate the value of a card. So this card is a 5 of sapphires. Each sapphire on the card is worth 3 points, so this card has a value of 15 points. And this card is a 4 of rubies. Each ruby on the card is worth 1 point, meaning that this card has a total value of 4 points. And this is also a good place to mention that if you keep an eye out for cards like amethysts and citrines, these are our highest scoring cards and will help you get you more points at the end. Now that we know about cards and point values, let's set up. So a player grabs the deck of cards, shuffles it, and then deals a hand of 5 cards to each player. Then they deal 1 card to each of the 5 card zones arranged in a star-shaped pattern around the deck. The deck gets placed in the middle and you're ready to start.
We'll move on to the process of a turn. On your turn, you must play 1 card from your hand to the top of one of the 5 piles on the board. You can place a card on a pile so long as the top card of that pile matches the color or number of the card you want to put down. So you can see here Az has a 4 of jades and can either place this card onto the 4 of citrine because both cards have the same number, or onto the 3 of jade because they have the same color. Or alternatively, if you have an opal in your hand, you can place this onto the top of any pile. Opals act as a wild card. They can take on any color or number and can be used to help you make matches, but more on that soon.
There are 2 things that can happen when you place a card down. The first thing is that you make a match between the top cards of 3 or more piles. The match can either be by color or by number. In this case, we've made a match of 3 amethysts, the purple gems. We have the 5 of amethyst, the 1 of amethyst, and the opal, which can be treated as an amethyst. If you are able to create a match between 3 or more piles, you take all of the cards from all of the matched piles. These cards are added to your stash and count towards your final score. Once a match has been made and the cards have been collected, draw 1 card to replenish your hand, and then deal out a card to each of the empty zones to replenish the piles.
But what happens if you can't make a match between 3 or more piles? You must still place down 1 card to a pile, making sure the card you place follows the color or number of the pile you are placing to. Then, pick up a card to replenish your hand and play moves to the next player.
So more on matching. We have shown the 3 card match, but here is a recap of a 3-way color match, and here is a 3-way number match. So let's move on to 4 card matches. This is when you match 4 piles by color or by number. Here is an example of a 4-way number match. And finally, last but not least, we have the fabled 5 card match. This is a quintet and happens when all piles have either the same color or the same number. A quintet will give you an additional 20 points at the end of the game. And of course, you can use your opals to help you make these bigger matches.
So, we've shown you how you can make matches, but now let's explore how you cannot make a match. One form of illegal matching is something called a passive match. Here, Az plays the 1 of amethyst, and then tries to pick up a set of 3 matching 3s. Az cannot pick up those piles even though they match because they did not contribute to the match in any way. Another form of illegal matching is the double match. A double match is where a match by color and by number is possible, and players try to take all piles relating to both matches. Similarly, players cannot collect piles from the board if they only make a match between 2 piles. You need to make a match between 3 or more piles to collect.
Now we'll explain what happens during the end game, using an in-game example. Frank plays the 5 of citrine and creates a 3-card match by numbers. He collects the cards and adds them to his stash. He draws a card and then replenishes the piles on the board. However, the deck runs out before all of the piles can be replenished, leaving one card zone empty.
So, in the endgame, when a zone becomes empty, the player has the choice of playing any card from their hand to an empty zone to start a new pile. Or they can play to an existing pile, following the color or number matching rule if they do. If cards are removed from the board because there isn't a deck anymore, piles are not replenished, and a person's hand isn't replenished either. However, if you want to make a matching set and collect it from the board, you will still need to match at least 3 piles as before. In the endgame, if all piles are cleared, the game ends and players keep whatever they have left in their hands and move to scoring. However, if all players have played all of their cards and the board and all piles have still not been cleared, then the last person to make and take a set takes all the cards left on the table. In the scoring phase, you'll sort through your gems and add up their point values in order to arrive at your final score. The process starts by pulling out any quintet markers from your deck and placing them to the side. You get 20 points for each quintet. Then you'll begin sorting your gems into their suits: rubies, jades, sapphires, etc. Then, starting from the lowest suit, rubies, count the number of rubies on each card and then multiply the total number of rubies by the value of each ruby. In this case, a ruby is worth 1 point. I collected 27 rubies across all of my ruby cards, and each ruby is worth 1 point. So that's a total of 27 points so far. We do the same with the jades. I count 12 jades, so that's another 24 points because each jade is worth 2. And we continue with each of the suits until we arrive at our grand total score for the game. So I got another 90 points for my sapphires, 48 points for all of my citrines, and another 80 points for all of my amethysts. I've counted up my scores, and I ended up getting 269 points. Az got 215 points overall. So it looks like I won that one.
And that's the end of the tutorial. Before we go, there's a couple other things to mention. This game can be played with up to 8 players if 2 decks are combined together. Unfortunately, the boards aren't included with the game, but we do have some mats coming soon. You can download a copy of the rules and scoring sheets and other helpful tools over on the Murmuring Mystic itch page, which we have linked below. And don't forget, follow us on all of the social media. We've got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can find all of that linked below as well. So thank you so much. We hope you enjoy Nabstones as much as we do. Bye!